Hi, my name is Brenda Titus. I'm a professional hypnotist in Orange County, California. For information about myself and my program, including in-person sessions, please go to my website, ochypnotherapy.com. Today's Thoughts from the Hypnosis Office, we are going to be talking about embracing a new normal after a major life change. So people come to me because they want to make major changes in their life. However, sometimes as we really identify what's going on, they might have already gone through a major change, and now by the time they come to see me, they are needing help adjusting to the new normal in their life. So first, let's talk about the kinds of things that people might choose to come to see a hypnotist for, or changes that they would like to make. So traditionally, we talk about smoking cessation and weight loss. I love to work with confidence building and overcoming fear and worry. Of course, a lot of times I work with relationship issues and performance improvement. So those are kinds of things where maybe somebody realizes, I would like to make a change in my life. I would like to overcome this problem. And so they call me and we do our work together. But sometimes people are forced into the change that we are working on. And they could even be, big and little life changes. So after an illness or an injury, some sort of unexpected loss. However, there's good stress and what we call bad stress. And so even, what we might think of as a good change, a positive change, a change in a job, a new home. I've had newlyweds come because they've needed some help adjusting to being newly married and their new life. So change can be good and it can be exciting, and it can be brought about by our own choice to make a change, but it can also be brought about because of somebody else's choices. So regardless of if we're being pushed into making a change or we're making that choice to make a change, there are things to gain and sometimes lose by making those big changes in our life. So today I wanted to explore that idea so we can open up some possibilities and potentials around embracing change and embracing the idea of the new normal beyond that change. So since it's such a common issue, I thought I would go ahead and use an example today and talk about somebody who might come to a hypnotist for help with weight loss. Now, the first thing when I say weight loss, it actually might be that losing weight may be the primary benefit that the person is hoping to get out of making that change. But technically, more likely, I'm going to be focusing on some other really important parts around that particular issue, especially the goal of making a change around eating habits, overcoming emotional eating, overcoming distracted eating, or eating too much, or picking the wrong foods. And so a lot of times, ultimately, we're really working on making healthy choices with food and movement, exercise. So one of the first things that I'll ask my clients is, why now? Now, this helps me better understand whether this is a choice that they are making, or if they're in a position that they have to make the change. So sometimes the client themselves, they might be going through a medical issue that requires them to change their habits. Sometimes somebody that they love is going through a medical issue, and so within the household, we need to make adjustments with our food. So many clients also just kind of, sometimes people say, well, I'm choosing, I want to lose weight because they've been on a cycle of either being on a diet, the up and down roller coaster for so much of their lives. And that's actually more my specialty really then is ending that cycle and working towards consistent positive change in food habits overall. So those are some of the reasons why somebody might come to change their food habits or lose weight, so to speak, where it may be somebody else's choice, whether it's because of a medical issue, or somebody in the household is making a choice to change their food habits, or, again, like I said, somebody else in the household who has a medical issue that has to change their diet. And so, one person's changing their ways, the rest of the household is doing that as well. So regardless of why that choice for change, next, once we get to why we're going to do this work, then we want to get into the benefits of making that change. This is kind of what I call the juicier part of the things that are going to get them excited about doing the steps that are going to be required to make that change. Now, like I said, we're using the example of weight loss today, or changing our food habits and our movement habits. So some of the benefits associated with that, of course, when we make a change with our food and movement, we might lose weight. Sometimes people want to have more energy, or to be more fit and strong, and sometimes better mobility, confidence. And then, quite frankly, sometimes there are more particular specific benefits for a particular client. So somebody might want to lose weight because they feel that then they'll have more confidence. And maybe that confidence then will be associated with getting out and dating, and then a relationship, and then on and on and on. So sometimes people, recognize that if they lose some weight, they'll feel more professional and be more successful in the job that they have, or that they might feel called to a new job as they have that confidence to really feel more comfortable inside of their body. So again, this is where I wanted to talk about. These are exciting benefits. They can be really wonderful changes and huge benefits for somebody's life, but they can also be scary. Those can be intimidating changes. Those big results can be kind of scary. And it's that fear of the big things that then can create that block inside of somebody that kind of pulls them back from making those changes. So that is why the next thing that I do, after I'm very aware of the benefits and why it's so important for them, why they want to change, and the benefit of making those changes, because the next part is that then we're going to be aware of the benefit of staying the same. And I say that as a benefit because that is the subconscious mind's belief, is that, I'm going to stay this way because then I know what to expect. So on my intake paperwork, I use the sentence, when I get better, I stand to lose blank. And that helps us early on our first session. It's kind of a surprise that my clients would, because, they'd like to say, well, I stand to lose nothing, right? Or they'll say, with the weight loss, well, if I, when I get better, then I stand to lose 20 pounds, right? That sounds really exciting. And but sometimes beyond the nothing, people also might acknowledge that as they change, it can open doors to many other changes that could also be wonderful and exciting. But again, like I said, they could also be kind of scary. So like I said, in the example with the new job or the new relationship, those can be, wonderful, great changes, but they're bigger than just losing some weight. They're bigger than all of that. It begins really changing the whole persona and the whole, outlook on life, and ultimately really could be good changes. But at the same time, the subconscious mind resists change. It's kind of one of those, the devil that you know is better than the devil that you don't know. So unfortunately, sometimes we stick and we stay in difficult, painful situations in our lives because it's easier to just suck it up and stay in those painful situations rather than to get out of those painful situations and, open ourselves up to whatever else could be on the other side. So even in a situation, somebody could be miserable in their current job, or even their, their relationship feels safer to the subconscious mind than the possibility of what we don't know. Sometimes when I get down to the root cause of, a fear or a block, and and kind of with fear we say, ask the subconscious mind, well, what could happen? And they'll say, I don't know. And it kind of opens up a great door of, well, anything could happen, which is exciting, but it is also scary because, anything could happen. And so we need to reframe the fact that some wonderful things could happen through taking steps A and B and C, and recognizing sometimes those changes might be scary as well. So again, like I said, the subconscious mind, it resists that change. It wants to just, stay in the life that it knows. But with hypnosis, what is really neat is that when we can show the subconscious mind that it could be so much better, fulfilling, happy, rewarding, to get those benefits of the change, then the subconscious mind cooperates and says, oh, this could be easy. This would be wonderful. And so that's why it is important to talk about what is exciting about making change, and acknowledging that there are some scary things about making change as well. But ultimately, it comes down to really shifting the client into making the best decisions for themselves. And like I said, and lifelong rewarding changes to be made, and especially so that they can create their new normal. Now, like I said, I did decide to use weight loss as an example for this video, and I acknowledge that once upon a time, I went on a pretty significant weight loss journey myself, as somebody in my household needed to make some major changes in their eating habits. And of course, household, we all work together, and we do that. Well, it began as, the weight, but then, oh, what do you know? The confidence, the change in how you view yourself in the world. And interestingly, that did for me lead to a lot of changes in my life. It literally did lead to the change in career, which is wonderful because now I get to help people myself with overcoming big things and being able to see beyond who you are in that moment, and acknowledge that there could be so much more that is available to us when we can embrace change and embrace what's on the other side of that change, and celebrating and creating that wonderful new normal for ourselves. So I hope that you enjoyed that and got some tools today to help you embrace your new normal. Also, to be thinking about any time that you're thinking about doing something in your life, and really recognizing, okay, what are the benefits? How can this make my life happy, more fulfilling, more rewarding? How does it even help the people that I care about? Those are, benefits. And then, of course, also looking at, well, what are the benefits of staying the same? Because that might help you kind of realize, oh, some of, or what do you stand to lose by making such and such change? Because both of those questions will really help you be able to understand some of your motivations on your own, so that you can start doing some of this work as well. And with that, I wish you a wonderful week. Thank you for joining me for Thoughts from the Hypnosis Office, talking about embracing the new normal.